Okay, let me start my recording. Great. There's one thing. Okay, let me tell you what's going to happen because I don't know. It's, when I when I meditate and receive information, which is my Wilhelm, as I've spoken about, I don't know necessarily what's going to come through. And then most times I don't even understand it at the time that I receive it. I come to understand it many years later. And that's why you all are here now. So you'll understand this for yourselves. And you'll understand why this timing is perfect, why you wanted to be here exactly at this moment to hear this. And it doesn't matter whether or not you're here live or if you see the recording, because I know a lot of people have asked for me to send them a replay, and that will happen. And regardless, they're going to get something from it. The first thing that I was told is that you're supposed, and I'll tell you, this is exactly how I heard it, and I try to control everything. But anyway, yesterday I heard that they wanted me to find my Wilhelm, and I'll explain what that means. They wanted me to find a particular message that you all were supposed to hear, you all were supposed to see, and you're also supposed to pay attention to the date of this particular message that they gave me, because it's going to make sense for all of you now, because you've been doing the same thing that I've been doing. But the reason that you're here is because you wanted to hear this, and you knew that I was the person who was going to be able to give it to you. And there's still a few more. Hang on. I normally have somebody else doing this, but he is ill, really ill. So I'm on my own. However, this is still great. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to go into, I'm pretty much okay, let me explain what's going to happen. A couple more people. 1 second. When I go into my meditation and I start receiving information, I will use different pronouns. The reason that I do that is to distinguish between what I'm receiving in terms of information and what is me. And because me has a lot of problems. I have a lot of issues. I have a lot of judgment. I have a lot of that. So that I always have to kind of work through that until I can get to the real information. Sometimes that takes me a really long time, but you're going to understand it, and you're going to see the reason that you're here is because you wanted to hear this. And it's part of what is called your particular journey. Your particular life journey is going to show up as we move through this. So what I'm going to do, oh, great. Oh, great. Thank you so much, Denise. I will do that. Denise offered to be a co-host. And so that's what I am doing now. And so I don't have to do this. Let me see. Thank you so very much. And okay. Okay. Perfect. Okay, you are now co-host, and so if you hear somebody else, if you can just then just promote anybody who might come in to being a panelist. So what we're going to do, I'm going to need to breathe a little bit and get into place as I do this. But in the meantime, I'm going to share my screen because you're all supposed to read this. I don't know why, but you're supposed to. You're supposed to read it because it's going to have this entire event makes sense to all of you. So let me share that as I'm getting myself into. Let me also explain something, because I know a lot of you, and I can't, so I'm not going to look at you in the beginning. I can't have my eyes open because my energy gets a little distracted. I just want to receive the information, and then when I'm done with whatever I'm going to deliver, after that, I will then come out of that place, be back on camera, and then I can answer any questions and I can still talk to everyone, but I will still be, this will make sense later. I'm still in that state of where I'm still integrated with Wilhelm. That's basically the way that this works. Okay, so let me have you look at this first, and then I'm going to be on this for a while, but then I'm going to stop my camera for a bit because I don't want to be distracted as I give you the information. Okay. But this, now, as I share this, the information I receive, that you will get, some part of this is going to make sense to you. Some part of this, it's going to resonate. You're going to feel it. All right. And then as we go through the rest of the day, it's going to make even, not the rest of the day, the rest of the hour, it's going to make even more sense to you. I don't know, it may be a day. They've been yelling at me about that too. So we'll see. We're so happy to have all of you here, and thank you for being here and allowing us to come through. And we say allow because as you read that message, and the reason that we wanted you to read that message, and the reason we wanted you to pay attention to the date is because Roger has taken this long before he would allow this to happen. As many of you have been feeling this resistance, this holding back in your own lives, and this is why you wanted to see this now. It doesn't matter how long it might have taken you. There is a perfection in that timing within your own life. And that is what you will find today. And the reason we wanted to use this very first message, because it was something that Roger has failed to understand. It was one that many of you here have the same issue. You would not be here unless there was a part of you that had this benevolent, meaning this part of you that wants to give back and wants to give back to the world. However, sometimes you have not made that personal. You have not understood your own value, which is why the struggle has existed. This morning, we gave Roger several messages, but the one that we wanted you to hear, and the reason that you're here, and the reason we wanted you to see this very first message is that you have always been on the right path in your life. That is the message we gave him this morning. We've been saying it over and over again, and we'll never stop saying that. The problem is, or the difficulty that you all have is that you don't understand it, or you may not trust it. But that is the purpose of your life. The challenges, the difficulties, whatever it is that you might have experienced were your gifts. And once you understand that and decide that you're going to work through them, then you're going to live the life that you've always desired. The message that we asked everyone to send something to Roger beforehand if it were something that could help everyone. And we received exactly that. One person who was much older said, and I'm speaking to them because they are not here today. They are not on this particular broadcast, but they will receive it. And they said, why do I procrastinate? I know what I'm supposed to do. Why do I keep procrastinating my entire life? Because you have not connected the value of who you are to what you're put on this earth to do. And we are saying that because every single person has that. Every single person was born with something that is unique, that is something they're supposed to do. But the only challenge is you don't trust it. Roger did not trust it. But that makes it perfect for him because now he gets to allow this to come through to help all of you. You think that you ended up in his experience by accident, and you know that was never true. You probably found that out as you began interacting with him, but you have never been in an accidental place in your life. He thought that too. Roger thought all of these things that were occurring in his life were all accidents. He thought he was a failure. He thought everything fell apart for something that he didn't know. He thought he was cursed. He thought he was all of these things, and they were all his gifts. And that's why he talks to you all in the manner that he does, and you know that he does it. When he looks at you, he cannot see anything but your potential. He cannot see anything but the beauty of who you are. It is not possible for him to even look at you with judgment. And he knows that he is different in that regard, and that's been the struggle. And now here we come to the place that we want him to understand in all of you. You were born into a time where you had some conflicts that you would experience in the world, but you were put into the world at this particular time so that you could be of benefit, so that you could be of help. No one is going to be here who is not supposed to hear this message, or they will not come upon it later unless they were part of the folks here now who were meant to move everyone else forward, and you are those people. You absolutely are those people, or you would not be hearing this message. We're going to take you back some more because there are things that Roger's only starting to understand now, but because of the period that you're all moving through, it makes more sense. We have told him for the last more than a year, when you guys started having your pandemic, we said you are going through a restructuring. Your entire world is being restructured. So of course you would be restructured as well. And that means coming together because you have doubted yourself. You have felt insignificant because you didn't know who you were. We have said to Roger over and over again, every single person has value and intent. And fortunately, he's had a life and a career where he could see that, where he could experience, but it took 32 years for him to understand that before he could say full-throatedly to all of you, yes, this is why I'm here. And yes, I know that you have a purpose. And yes, I can help you get there. That's why we are doing this today. And that's why you're here today. And we told him, we made fun of him when he planned this thing. We said, you planned it for an hour. You've kept us locked up for 30 years. You don't think we had more to say? That it would be more than an hour? And so, yes, and this is what happens. We have these fights with Roger almost every morning. Like you have these fights within yourself internally. Oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. No, I don't completely believe it. Oh, maybe I'm supposed to do this. No, I don't. And then you come back to it and then it's never gone. This is what he's done. But because he has done this, this is informed his ability to help all of you. Yesterday, while working with someone, this person talked to Roger and said, you are a purpose coach. And Roger thought, yes, that's exactly what I thought. How come I didn't know that? How come I couldn't see that? First of all, most of you do not see what is within you. You don't see it. He couldn't see it. But you do have helpers. Now, we will tell you one of the aspects that brought this day about in the way that it's occurring now is that Roger stumbled upon another entity who does the same kind of work that he does. So he got more permission. He felt more okay with it. And he met Chiron. And Chiron had the same thing that he did. And then they saw the synchronicity. When we're talking about synchronicity, those are the things that you happen to call coincidences. And you have never had a coincidence in your life. They are just things that you didn't understand when they happened. You didn't know how things were coming together to provide you with information that was designed to help you evolve. None of you are here for any other reason than to evolve. That's all that is occurring. Now, there's a whole nother avenue of information that we will bring through. I don't know if we're going to get it all here today. Okay, but this particular time, the entire world is changing. If you haven't noticed that, just kind of look outside. The entire world is changing. So you cannot expect yourself to be in the same particular place. The difficulty is this, and we told Roger to have you all do this. We want you to touch yourself. We want you to just take your hands and just punch yourself a little bit. You feel that. That seems real to you. And that is also your difficulty. You think you are attached. You believe that you are attached to that physical body, to what you have done, to your past, to whatever it is, to your body, the way you look, all of that. That has absolutely zero to do with who you are and what you're supposed to achieve in this world. So that other stuff, the stuff you can't feel, all of that stuff out in the ethers, is where all the juice is where everything that you wanted, but you don't feel comfortable enough to do that. So you have people like Roger come along to help you. And he has had his help getting there from others. And he has known that. And he's also seen the progression. They change. Sometimes as you move through your life, your spirit guides will change. And you all have them. And you know that you have them. Yesterday, someone was speaking to Roger and telling them, oh, do you have voices? You hear voices that talk to you all the time? I go, do you hear that? And then Roger said to them, yes, and you do too. You all do. The only difference is Roger has spent many, many years interpreting this, developing the ability to interpret this. But the thing is, he's done that so that he can show each of you, help you understand that you have done exactly the same thing in your life. You have done whatever it is that you're working with. That is your gift. That is what you're supposed to give back to the world. And it's always there. We will tell you that when we had Roger find that message that you all read in the beginning of this, he didn't even remember that he had produced it. He didn't even remember that it came through him from us. And that goes on all the time. He did not. And then what he did in an instance, he attributed that particular writing to someone else. He thought someone else had written it. We're saying that because each of you have done that. You have taken something that you've created, or you've not noticed that you've created it, and you have not given it the value that it could have had. Everyone has this in their purview. Everyone has this built into them. We've given Roger a program called Empowerment Made Simple. He didn't understand even what it was. He can't even tell you how he created it. He doesn't know how he created it, but he does know that it works. And so now he has to go through, as you all do, this period of trust and belief. That is all that you're ever working on, because none of you were born without the potential, ability, skills, talents to accomplish anything. But you don't understand that because you're on an evolutionary journey. And let me talk about your evolutionary journey. Okay, your evolutionary journey is connected to so many other things, and that's why it's different, and that's why you each have trouble with this. Roger knows that he was connected to this family that had all these different ethnicities into it, and he was plopped into particular situations where he had to understand that and figure out how to work with it. Was that accidental? We think not. Then he started to find himself in certain situations where it was pointing out to him maybe what he should be doing in his life, maybe what gave him joy. But he didn't think that was okay. Now, we're saying this because he's also uncovered that he's had family things that have implanted these beliefs, these ideas, which you all have. They've implanted these beliefs and these ideas in him that he's had to continually use this lifetime to uncover them, to move through them. And that's what you're all doing. The only thing that you're ever doing as you're alive is working through your limitations. That's all it is. We led him recently, last year, to studying a lot of history, and we'll go through that another time because we know that this is going to go on. This is just the first of many that we will do, but we led him to studying history because many of you did not understand what was happening during this past pandemic, because you've had many of them over centuries. We had him go back and look at all of them because we want him to understand that what happens is whatever you think might attach different ideas or beliefs of what you think might be going on. However, what you always find is the result, and the result of every time you've gone through it is that your world evolves. You become better. You become more. How do you think you created technology? How do you think you created all these new inventions that you have? How do you think you created even this apparatus that we're sitting on now to be able to deliver this information in the way that we could not before? You each have within you the ability, the talent, the skill to live magnificent lives. And because Roger has not known that within himself, he knows that he is here to help all of you. And he also knows that it's the time he was supposed to do it. The one thing that we wanted to address, because that message that we received this morning said, I'm in my 70s and I haven't done it yet. You people don't understand that your chronological age has nothing to do with your life purpose. It just doesn't. You fulfill your life purpose always. It has nothing to do what time that happens. It does have to do with, as that message says, and now we're understanding why we gave it to you, because if you read the last line, which Roger's not remembering right now, but it did say that it is everyone's power to do with as they wish. And that's what we wanted to tell you all today. We wanted you to come to understand this is where you're moving, and you're moving through it now in this collective way, and you're here because you were supposed to be. This was a destined place for you to be so you could hear this information so that you could forge a little more belief in yourself. That's all we're doing. And we're going to keep going on, and we're going to keep doing it. And now it's different, because Roger has turned this into a mission for himself. And he knows that when you feel this mission, when you understand what that is in your life, nothing is going to stop you. Nothing is going to hold you back. You're not going to care about what other people think of you. You're going to get over this. You have to understand the reason we are doing this, and the reason we're putting Roger through this, is because he's held, as you might have, this fear of judgment from other people and other people's opinions. Now, he knows he's also placed himself in positions. His family will demonstrate it to you, like yours. Your family and friends may not be the people who are going to agree with you the most, because that's perfect. If everyone agreed with you, you wouldn't know who you were. We have much more on that, but we're not going to do it all today, because We would love to get to and address and talk about anything that has come up for any of you in terms of questions. And we want to make sure that we have enough time, but we are feeling that we will do many more of these and we'll figure out what that format will be. But we do want to address any questions or feel what happened for any of you, anything that you might give us here. You must understand it will be helpful for the world. You each have the ability, by the way, of changing the world. You just haven't appreciated that because you're all connected. And if you were to become connected to yourself, you would develop more power. And if you develop that power, you'll give it to other people. And then collectively, you all are changing the world. And that's what we're up to here. Okay. Okay, I'm back. So, but we're still here. So I'd like to hear what came up for anyone. I'd like to hear any questions. I'd like to know what anyone's coming up for, anything. What happened? What did you feel? What did you hear? What resonated? Anything? Any of you? Nothing? You're still thinking. Oh,
Something that you said really resonated, or that Wilhelm said.
mhm.
My version of Wilhelm, Cassidy, had told me on occasion that what we do here affects things and the astral, or whatever anyone calls it, and that we don't always see the result like here, but it's happening there where it matters. And Wilhelm had said something along those lines. So that resonated, and I wanted to hear what your thoughts might be on
The
that.
problem is most humans believe in linear time, and we do not. Linear
Right.
time means that everything, linear time means that you think you see things in this straight, this happens and that it doesn't happen that way.
Mhm.
It's all happening at once. And this is the difficult concept for humans to understand because we need to have things really delineated in a way that it feels tangible, but it's not always that. And it's typically not that. The message that came through this morning, and this is why we all have a little bit of trouble, is that the message that came through this morning is that when you're going on a journey, what fun would it be if you had arrived already and already experienced everything that was there? Why would you take the journey? See, that's what you're doing here in your life. But it's so difficult at times for us to really trust that, to trust that aspect. And then there are certain people who come along, like me, to help everyone come to that other place. And why I hadn't, which I didn't understand before, all of these other teachers, healers in line to come to this time. You are all here at the right time in your lives. That's the universal message. The other thing that, let me go back. Okay, this is a Wilhelm thing. Okay, if you were to go through and you have consistency in your life. So if you were to go through all of our messages that are posted on Any Advice for Today, you would read through all of them and you would find consistency throughout. You all have that. You just don't understand it as you're living your lives. And as you start putting it together, you will see that you have been given a path to follow that would make you happy and successful and all of that if you would get out of the way and do it. The difficulty is trusting all of that.
I wanted to say something.
Mhm.
A part that resonated for me was the part where you talked about if everyone agreed with you, you wouldn't really know who you are. And that just resonates because, especially lately, I've been finding myself like really triggered and just getting super emotional and just over analyzing the situation when I've had like friends or family disagreeing with where I'm, telling them I'm headed. And I don't know. It typically doesn't bother me at all what anyone thinks, but lately it has been. So when you said that part, it kind of put things in perspective. Like if everyone was just like, yeah, you should totally go out and, chase these pipey dreams that have such a low percentage instead of following what's logical, then I don't know. I just feel like it'd be harder in that sense to really truly find and accept myself for like who I am and what I'm put on this earth to do, as Wilhelm said.
Perfect. Let's go into that. Okay. Um, again, none of you are here by accident, and you're supposed to hear all of this. And you all have had this, you've been placed here for a reason, and it's not the same as everyone else. And some of you know this because you're in helping professions, you're doing things that are about other folks. When you're in that position, you place yourself in places where you will attract contrast or conflict. And that is for the purpose of you coming to own who you are. You could not help another unless you first came to own who you are and offer that example to them. Okay, we're gonna stay here for a second. Okay. Roger spent the better part of his life attempting to get his family and friends to believe in what he was doing in every single aspect. It didn't matter what it was. It was whether he was doing music, whether he wanted to dance, whatever he wanted to do in his life, no one would believe. And then he kept doing that even into his adult life, and no one believed in any of the businesses that he wanted, anything. And he goes, why am I doing this? Why do I keep going through these things? Until he understood that he had to, because he was fulfilling and moving through some process, something in his past that he wanted to move beyond. And we're going to bring this up. He didn't know if we were going to do this today, but we're going to. In 2005, he had a dream. I want you all to understand it, and I want you to hear this because this is all pertinent for all of you here. In 2005, he had a dream. Now, first of all, he found a folder several years ago that he didn't know how it got there. It said August 2005. He has no other folders that look like that. Inside that folder, there was something where he had written many, many, many dreams. And that doesn't happen either because he doesn't typically dream or remember them. However, this time he did. And the dream that he wrote, which all of you are doing right now, he wrote this dream. He says, it felt like I was in a setting with a group of leaders, and they asked if someone would volunteer. And I volunteered. I jumped up there. I said, yes, me. And the moment I was there, I said, no. Why did it have to be me? Why did I do this? Why did I volunteer for this? And then he wrote in the dream, he wrote on the paper, maybe I could forget this. Maybe it could just go away, and maybe it didn't really happen. And that's the thought that many of you have had about your lives, and it's never true, and it's never going to go away. And as long as you hold that denial, you're going to be a little miserable. Okay. Who else? What else
I
can
guess I could say something, Roger.
Yes, Dan.
More of a question. Well, you know what I'm basically working on, stuff, creative things, music and other things. Right now, in the moment in my life, when I thought I was trying to clear things off my schedule to, keep working towards that kind of stuff, there's a bunch of chaos and problems coming at me right now.
Mhm.
So, consciously, I was thinking that I would be able to get things done, but it seems almost like a subconscious thing that's holding me back.
Obstacles are the way. I love that title. Okay, hang on. Okay, got to go back here now. Okay. We don't remember where this came from, but Roger heard this. There's a book called Obstacles Are the Way, and he's known this. When you have obstacles or challenges that are placed in your way, it's to direct you in some way. Now, you are the one who has to figure out where it's trying to direct you. Now, is it telling you that what you're doing is a little bit not your path, not where you're supposed to be going? Or is it directing you to say you wanted to work through something and finally starting to believe in yourself? one or the other. But regardless of what it is, you're never going to fail, which we have given Roger over and over again, because that's the one thing that holds a lot of you back. You think you're going to fail. And wherever you're headed may not be where you end up. Simply because you're working on something, you've taken a career direction and it feels great right now, you may shift. And we're talking about this because Roger's done that many times, which again, why he's supposed to speak about it. You're supposed to end up in the place where you know this is what you want to do, you feel great, you love it, and it causes you to be happy. That's the most challenging thing to do. Many years ago, and again, you can go to our writings and find this because we've talked about it forever. The biggest irony of your life is that you're walking around trying to be something, trying to become something, and it always feels like it's someone else when actually all you're trying to do ever is become yourself. And that's the most difficult thing because you're judging yourself constantly. You're saying you're not good enough. You have all these other things, and that's never it. Those are your gifts. And once you understand them, as Roger has now, and that's why he's talking about this, once you understand that, you will move through this, you will help other people, and you'll start to transform the world. Okay. What else is coming through for you guys? Angela.
Heartbeat faster. We talk about your gifts are meant to move everyone forward, and I feel, oh yes, that's what I'm all about, and I really trust that for me individually. I think what's coming up for me now, because it came to mind this morning during my meditation time, is just there were a couple of pictures of fear, and what I don't trust is that the world is truly going to move forward, because there's so many pictures of, and what came to my mind this morning was, earlier in the year, gatherings in my city is the capital of Oregon, and people with very large guns who are very angry. And there have also been people with big logging trucks because they didn't want the green bill to be passed in our legislature here. And there's just like this heavy energy of anger and separation, and
Okay,
so many images of that I don't trust that we're moving forward.
Okay, let me go back. I got to go back for a second. This is what we were talking about earlier. This is why you're alive now. This is why you're all alive now. And this is why you're here. And this is why you're listening to this. Yes, you can change what's going to occur because you have, okay. You live in a place of probable realities, and the realities only occur by the actions that each individual takes in their own lives. Those actions become cumulative. So if you have someone who's doing really good stuff, if you're one of those people doing really great stuff and you know that that's going to make a difference in the world, then you're supposed to give it back to other people. It becomes cumulative, and then it changes. Now, if you don't do that, guess what happens? Then the other part takes over. The other element we have given Roger this over and over again. That does happen. You need the contrast to move to another level. However, your planet's still here. It hasn't been dissolved. You are still, but it is evolved. You've done this over and over again. There's civilizations that have been lost, and we've taken Roger to this kind of information, but he doesn't want to, we don't want him to stay in that right now. That's not important. But the fact is, if you understand, there have been many other civilizations that have existed that have gone, but you each evolved. What is happening now, if you haven't noticed this, we led Roger to this last year, but only recently are people paying attention to it. But now scientists are noticing UFOs. Like, you didn't understand that there were more things occurring in the universe, more things about you. And that's what's coming up, and you're going to see it more and more because these things are being revealed. There's nothing to be concerned about. It's just what is. However, you are here now, and you're banding together now because there's strength in numbers, as you've always heard. And so when the good ones come together, more light gets created. And Angela, you are here to do that. And this is why you ended up here, because you've kind of doubted it. You kind of felt it, but you knew that when you got here, you started to feel more comfort and just look at what you've done. And there's just more to do. That's all. The other part of this is the other part. You're all impatient. We gave Roger something so long ago, and he didn't understand it until now. And we told him it's your This is what's going to get any of you through anything and everything. It's the 3 Ps. You have them: practice, patience, and persistence. That's all it is. And he's lived that. So that's why he can talk about it and know that it's real. He did not believe it when we first gave it to him. Practice means that you have to change. If you don't have what you want, if you're not seeing the world that you want, you've got to do something differently, all of you, individually and collectively. And once you do that, things start to change. Now, but what starts to happen, and you might be experiencing this now, because Roger's experienced it, you become impatient. Because you're starting to see, as that message said, the power that starts to come through that you have. You have this ability within you, and you'll start to see it, and you want to go out and do it right away. No, maybe not. Just put it together and allow yourself to be comfortable with it. We're saying that because most of you have disempowered yourself so many lifetimes, maybe, or maybe just in this life. So give yourself time to understand that and build yourself back up. And then the persistence stays with it, because you're always going to want to stop. You don't have what you want right now because something came up and you said, okay, let me stop and not keep going forward. And we can talk about that again, because Roger's done that many times. But also he sees the value in that, because now, okay, there's something we want to explain to you all, because one of the things that holds you back the most is feeling like you've had failures, difficulties, challenges, and all these bad things that have happened to you. They have not. You just have not found the value from them. And what has happened now with Roger is he found the value from all of these things. And even though they were challenging and difficult and things that he would never want anyone else to experience, but now he does see the value of them and he can give them back to the world, and then they don't hurt quite as much. And that's the same thing that's going to go on for each of you. So Angel, you're on the right track.
Thanks. I'll keep trusting.
That's the part. What else? Anyone else? What else came up?
Is there a significance to the year 2005 in how information was being communicated to people? I keep hearing that year come up as
I don't. Well, please tell me.
I don't know, but I hear it from a lot of people. Like 2005 was when all this, and I experienced that as well. So I just wonder if you had any thoughts on that.
I've not found it now. Okay, let me talk about something else. Something else came up. Okay. All right. You may be ready this time, and we're going to talk about this in this particular way. In 1987, there was an event that occurred called the Harmonic Convergence, and it was another time on your planet where people who were of the awakening, so to speak, or however you might want to think about it, would take flight to where they wanted to go in their lives. And the same thing is happening currently. That is what's happening at this period. Now, Roger was given information about that back in 1987, but he totally disconnected from it. We're saying this because many times you will receive information or ideas and you disconnect from it because it wasn't time yet, which is again why we keep going back to forget linear time. Your chronological age has nothing to do with it. In 1987, he wasn't ready. Now he is. And you may be in that place now in your life, which is why you're here, which is why you're hearing this, because you're ready to take off and do that thing that you feel in front of you. We want to say this too, because you all have this thing inside you that you know you want to do, but you don't believe that you're the person to do it. You don't think that you have the skill, the ability. And we keep saying to Roger, no, everyone has it. And there's one thing that we're going to give you now that he is not quite put together, and he sort of gets these things, but he's now putting together differently. There was a time where, and this, he's going to go back and find this because there's a song that he wrote in wow, he didn't even realize this until in 1987. Moment. He wrote a song in 1987 called Better Than Me. Oh, wow. Okay. He did not know at the time why he was writing it, except the lyrics of the song say that no one knows better than you. This is what he was supposed to bring forth in the world, but he didn't know. He didn't even know why he was writing it, but he did get something from someone else, because as he was writing the song, it made complete sense to him. And then he took it to someone and they said, it makes absolutely no sense. And then they gave him the best line and what we want to give to all of you, because this is exactly why you're here. They said, everything in a song has already been written. It's already there. It's already out in the world. And so what you're supposed to do as an individual, you're supposed to take that, you're supposed to add your mix to it. You're supposed to add your interpretation and create something new and give it back to the world. And that's what you're all doing right now. So it could be the time that is right for you. And we're saying that because some of you will listen to this and you're going to get it and you're going to take off. Others will say, no, this is crazy talk, because Roger did that too. So you'll have your choice, but either way, there will be the right choice for you, because it will tell you a little bit more about the path that you're on. That's all. It's always there. The thing that we will never stop saying is that each of you has this place within you that can create magnificent. We want to ask you one question. Why do you think, why would you believe that there's some person, something, some entity, something that's creating individuals and giving them disproportionate amount of talents and abilities? Doesn't happen. And then you don't even believe it because even your religions have told you that. If you could look at every single religion, it was always ingrained in that. Now we'll say, and this is a whole another story for a whole nother day though, because the parts of that is there was hierarchy involved in that. And we have said, and we will always say, there are no hierarchy in souls, meaning that no one was born with more or less than anyone else. That's just the way it is. And you might think that it might have something to do with your physical condition or abilities. Never. Because even people with diminished physical, mental abilities serve their purpose in this world. Every single person. You may make choices about yourself where you do not believe that, and that is your choice. And then you're creating the reality that will demonstrate that particular choice that you have made. Okay, we got to stop. Raj gets a little exhausted sometimes because we just take over. Okay, we're back. So, what else came up?
Wilhelm,
Mm-hmm.
this is Cam,
Yes.
and I know that you know my story, and I'd like to get back to linear time a bit because,
Yes.
as you know, I've had a project since 1982, and it's gone on the back burner a number of times, but now I'm into 5 months of no work in LA. In the film, entertainment, and hospitality industries. And as much as I have belief and hope and patience, I'm having a difficult time staying in the now.
Yes. Because the vision is pretty big and the time is supposed to happen now. And the timing again for you, and just like the other person who sent us the other message, is that it was supposed to happen now. And the reason that it's challenging is that we forget that we don't hold on to our own belief. And so, but now is the time. Okay, let's go back to the timeline. Let's talk about linear time again. You each have ancestral connections, lines, and things that you're working through. And so some of the things that you are doing now, and as Liz brought up, these timeline, you're cleaning up stuff from long ago, from lifetimes that you don't know anything about, but they're there. And so we say this continually because some of you are so hard on yourselves because you do not understand that the work that you're doing is uncovering, moving through decades, centuries, eons of trauma that you may have carried from your family, your ancestors, your countries, whatever it might be. But you're here now to work through that. And sometimes it becomes challenging. And then a lot of times you are tested. And who's testing you? You're testing yourself, because you want to know that this is the thing that you're doing. So you'll get yourself, Roger's done this many times. He will make himself go broke. He'll make himself not have any work or money or any of that. And so, because then he knows he's got to move to the next level. A lot of times, many of you will do that in your lives, which is why you have these disasters. However, you're getting to the place now where something, if you hold the faith, hold the persistence, hold that belief that it's going to attract to you the right people to take this project forward, or to put it in the form that it's supposed to happen. And we just have to keep going on that. We all have to keep going on that because we're doing this together. And there's a collaboration that's supposed to happen too with all of us. That means that one, we're supposed to help one another push this forward, because as we said, there are diverging factions going on in the world right now. And you know that, you've seen it. But you are of the ilk of coming to good and bringing that forth in the world. And that's what you have to do now. But the patience is the part that is the most difficult. There was another message that came up that we gave Roger so long ago, and he can go back and find it, or you all can find it. It's called the energy of wait. The energy of wait, the word wait, W-A-I-T. When you're waiting, you are holding a specific energy, and that's what you have to pay attention to. When you're waiting for something to occur in your life, you have to ask yourself, what is the energy that you're holding as you're waiting for that thing to happen? Are you waiting because you're sure that it's going to happen and you're feeling sure about it? That's going to bring you a very different result than if you're waiting and thinking this is never going to happen again. And that's what we're all up to right now, every single person. But you, and I'm saying this again, people here are here to do something that is going to help others move forward. And you're doing that by moving through your own junk. That's what's happening. And the more of us to do that, the world changes. And this is how we help Angela keep the world going in the place that we want to see it. We all keep doing it. We're not done. Roger didn't make this point really clear. We're going to do it again. The reason that he wanted you to see that first message from 1989 is to just kind of show you a little bit of how long sometimes it takes for you to start to believe in yourself. How many years? Now, again, we don't want to use these linear, it's the only thing you can measure. It's the only thing as humans that you can kind of pay attention to, is knowing these years. And sometimes when we make the numbers really big, it's more impressive for you. Yeah, 32 years. Yeah, wow, really long time to wait and hold yourself back. But that's what everyone is doing. But now you have decided, and we want you to hear this because everybody will get this. You may not get it today, but you're going to get it eventually. But you decided to be alive now during this particular time when this world is going through this big flux, this big change, so that you could be a part of it. That's why you were here now. We gave Roger something so long ago, and still he's still understanding it, and you all will. And that's going back and looking at what we call the integrity of your life experience, because you each have one. It takes a while to understand this, but you have an integrity of your life experience, meaning there's certain things that happen at particular times to open you up, to allow you to open up to who you are, to see more about yourself, so you can see the next thing. And then, but you have to be the person to decide to take the step. The one thing that most do, and Roger has done this forever, is to hold back and not put himself out there, because what if it fails? What if I get embarrassed? What if something goes? That's what you're doing. And so now it becomes taking a bolder step. We will tell you how this happened because we wanted to impress this upon all of you. He has wanted to do this, what we are doing right now, for years, and never thought he could do it. And the only way we got him to do it, and we're saying this because we trick him a lot, like you trick yourselves. We tricked him. We had him create this. We had him on the spur of the moment. We gave him an idea on Monday. We said, create this webinar. Just do it. Let us talk. And he did it. And then he said, oh, this is too scary. I don't think I can do that. To come to the place now, to finally jump, to finally do it, and then say, oh, wow, this is where I'm supposed to be. This feels comfortable. It's the most comfortable place I've ever been. And you each have that, and you each will do that. We guarantee it. You each will do that. Well, we don't guarantee it, because you could make another choice, because you have free will. Now, what we mean by that, and we've told Roger this from the beginning, you can, again, go and search any of our messages on free will. You are not destined to do anything in your life. None of you. You have free will, meaning you can make choices. Now, you feel that certain things are destined for you, and that's true because you have proclivities, you have inclinations that tell you what you're meant to do in this life. So that is absolutely true, but you don't always do it. And that's where your free will comes into place. You know, sometimes it's about, oh, wait a minute, I need to make that phone call. I can't do that. I need to write this. Oh, can't do it. I need to create this. Can't do it. Because you're not fulfilling your destiny simply because you're not using whatever you might think is your destiny. You're not maybe not fulfilling it because you're not utilizing your free will in the way that you could. One more thing before we come back to more questions for you. There's something that we gave Roger so long ago, and we want to give it to you all now because you can use this idea, and it's called focused attention. You create everything through your thoughts, the thoughts that you create, that you think, and you think them continually. But sometimes you're not aware of the thoughts that you're thinking. And so we gave them a process called focused attention. When you are aware of, you're going to take the thought that you want to manifest and you're going to focus on that and keep it going and just only focus on that. And then when the other thoughts come, just let them go. Don't go with those. Now the focused attention is back on the thing that I wanted to create. We gave him something called the dream card that we had him create. And if any of you, and he included, had used that, things would be a little bit different. However, now is the time for you to come to that. That's why you're all here again. Okay. Anything else? What's come up? Renee, I can see you wanted to say something's going on for you. What was it?
I'm just trying to thread it all together.
It hit you.
Yeah, the focused attention and things not being linear. I'm just trying to let it marinate inside and just give it more thought, even focusing attention on these things, on what you're saying. While other things run through your head, or you're trying not to have other things run through your head.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. You gave us something. I'm going to go back into speaking. We want to talk about this because this is the other thing we did not explain. We want to explain our use of pronouns. You all have thoughts, you have ideas, you have thoughts going through your head, and sometimes you entertain them and sometimes you don't. Okay, now you may be hearing, we call them your guides or angels or whatever you might want to think of them, but you may be hearing several of them. This is why we say we use the pronoun we, because Roger knows that he's hearing all different sorts of things. And sometimes he has to wait until he can interpret that and put it together in a way that it makes sense. So yes, you would be percolating this or putting it together and allowing it to settle in. He's been doing that for years and years and years, and now it's starting to make sense to him as well. But that is what you each are supposed to do. One other thing, and this is specifically for Renee, because we love speaking to her about this, because she has this idea that somehow she's missed the point, she's missed the mark, but she's right on it. Because you each are placed into the timeline of your life to make a difference to the world when you understand that. And it will start to come about. Just you're not ending up in any accidental places and all of that. Roger used to always think that until he found out that no, that's where you were supposed to be. And even places that he was kicked out of, it's just how it felt. He knew he was supposed to be kicked out of that, so he could go to the next place. And that's the same thing that has happened for all of you. And that's what's happening. We're all going through this. And so we just have to calm down and breathe and take in who we are. This time is really intense. Another thing we're going to explain. You all respond to energy in different ways depending on your makeup and that. Roger's very sensitive to energy, of course, because that's why he does this work and he can feel things. But you all are sensitive to energy in many different ways. And once you start interpreting that and figuring out how to use it for your benefit, then you start to lead yourself to the lives you wanted to live. That's really what's going on here. And again, the thing that we really, the thing that we want you all to understand. You are eternal beings. So these timelines that you've placed upon yourselves in terms of when you're supposed to do something means nothing. Absolutely nothing. You're here working on something, either working through something, either that you've done in this lifetime that you still haven't finished or whatever that might be. But you may be carrying some stuff from that you don't even remember. Who knows? It doesn't matter. But the fact is, you do know when you're in your moment of now, and that's what we want you to think about, because that's the only place that you have any power is in your moment of now. In your moment of now, you know what choice you're going to make. You know what choice you're going to make about how you choose to think of yourself. You do know that, and you know what choice you're going to make about if you're going to take the action that will move you forward in your life, or if you're not going to. You always know that. But sometimes we don't listen to that. We will say this, and we're going to tell you this. When Roger does his meditation, he hears many, many different things. And as we said, he will fight with us before he starts to write something down, because he said, I don't want to really believe that, or maybe it's not true. And then he'll always write it. Then what happens is he'll come back maybe, who knows, later, a week, year, but years later. And then all of a sudden it makes sense to him. He can't see himself. He can see you a lot better than he can see himself. And that is the same for you. This is why humans do much better with having mentors and coaches and philosophers and teachers and all of those folks, because you need that. You're building upon one another. There's a collective education energy that's always developing and growing. And you each are developing that in your own way. The one thing that we have that we're going to get you all to understand is that your world is significant. Who you are is significant. And what you came to the earth, and the reason that you decided to be born, because we want you to know that you made that decision, whether you believe it or not, you did. And the reason you decided to be born, because you wanted to create something wonderful in this world. And it may have been a struggle. You may have held yourself back, but it's still going to happen.
I had a question for Wilhelm while you're still tapped into him.
Mm-hmm.
So Wilhelm, this is Gibran. I think you know who I am. And my story as well. I've been working harder than I ever have in my life for these last probably a couple months to a year, and just really focus. All of a sudden, I've had this gut feeling to maybe take a break and not, I don't know, I'm kind of fighting with myself. I can't tell if it's a channeled message or feeling I'm getting, or if it's my ego trying to talk me out of it and just be lazy. But I've just been like resting a lot lately, and just like long hikes, just like eating well, self-care stuff. It's not like I'm partying or going crazy, but I don't know. Can you?
Yes.
Can you tune that
Sometimes,
message out?
sometimes laziness is not that. Sometimes you won't do anything because you're transitioning into a new part of yourself. And sometimes we resist that, and it becomes exhausting. It becomes exhausting. When we're resisting ourselves, it becomes exhausting and we want to sleep. But other times we need to just totally get away from who we used to be. And so the walks, the hikes, all of those things, being out in nature, and especially during this time as you're going through these transitions, the nature thing is really good. It gets you out of your head. However, there's another point. There are no wrong choices. That's the main thing. There are no wrong choices. If you decide not to do anything, you'll get a result from that. And it'll tell you if that was the right choice. If you decide to do something, you will get a result from that as well. But the thing that you have to come to is trusting yourself and trusting your intuition, which is what you're all coming to and what we're talking about here. You're just trusting your intuition and going with it. As we said, even though you may start on a particular direction, may not be where you end up. Roger's told you he's changed direction so many times in his life, but he always knows that the change, even though he didn't understand it at the time, made sense now. That was the line we wanted you to hear.
Thank you, Wilhelm.
Mm-hmm.
All right, good, because I was going to be lazy the rest of the day too. I was hoping Wilhelm agreed with that. Perfect.
Oh, thank you for that, because you've given us something else. The only person that has to agree with you is you. That's the one thing we want you to understand. We gave Roger a program, and so many of you have seen it, or you might be in there. And throughout it, he didn't understand this completely, but we said there are no right or wrong answers. There are no right or wrong answers. There are only your answers. You each were born to be these unique, independent individuals who could contribute your essence to the world. It is important that you do that. Otherwise, the world doesn't evolve. We love using that because most people don't believe that they are that powerful. Okay, going to go back. We led Roger more than a year ago. We kept leading him to these videos talking about Joshua or Jesus. And so he's going, why are you doing this? Why am I there? Because it's the biggest contradiction that humans have, is that you create religious leaders who are giving you the information that you wanted to believe in, except you reject it. And they say, well, yeah, you just have as much power as we do, but no, you will reject that. And it's gone on, and it's not just any particular religion. It's gone on for centuries. It's gone on all over the world. Now, we will say that sometimes that has been used to control many people as well. It doesn't matter what it was then, what it is for you now is you coming to own who you are. That's why there are no right or wrong answers, only yours.
Roger, may I begin?
Yes.
Would you or Wilhelm explain a little bit more about something you referred to earlier about the juice of the universe?
The what?
The juice of the universe.
The juice?
Yes, the juice of the universe.
Okay, that was I have no idea. Let me find this. Okay, let me explain. I'll go back and try to find what that is. A lot of, give me a second. Okay, many times when Wilhelm is coming through and I'm fully immersed, I don't remember what I said. This is why I record things, because it's always easier for me to go back and find it. But what it might have been referring to is that we see the world, we see the universe as having this cohesiveness that kind of holds it together. And you're each are a part of that. Your essence is that important, it comes together. And so it's hard to explain or find that whatever we might have said, and we might find it in the recording where we listen back, but what the essence is for each of you to understand that you are part of this whole. And there is no part that's less important than any other. We gave something, this is fun. Okay, we gave Roger something many, many years ago. It was about baking a cake. And this is the thing that we would like for each of you to understand why you're here, because you're an ingredient in baking this cake. Think of the world, the earth, the world, your universe is being this cake. Now, when you're making a cake on your own, you know that you have to place in all these different ingredients, and you know all the ingredients have to work to make the cake taste the way you want it to taste. And you would not necessarily leave out an ingredient, even though you may think it's meaningless, but you know it's going to make the whole cake be better, so you're going to put them all in. Every single person is an ingredient in the cake of this universe, and you are needed for this batter to happen to create the world that you want to have. We keep using anything we can to get you to come to understand your significance, because it is that, every single person. It is hysterical to us to watch. And this is why, again, we kept bringing Roger back to Jesus to point out the contradiction, because you were told over and over again to believe that you had this ability, this power, and it was being demonstrated to you. But sometimes, again, we keep going back to understanding what we call, and we're going to talk about this now because you'll understand this. You each have what we call a personal DNA. You can think of your DNA now in these terms, and you can see different ethnicities, races you might have been connected to, and all of that, and that's all there, and that's absolutely true. But it's not going to be the same as anyone else's. Yours is not the same. Even your individual DNA is not the same as your siblings, your parents, none of it. It's not the same. So you are here alone. You've got to get this. You are here as this individual, and there's no two of you alike. As we pointed out in snowflakes, there are no two of you alike. So, but the difficulty is, think about this, because you can't find anybody who's being exactly like you and living the exact life experience that you have, you somehow think maybe yours is wrong. And that is never true. But you're all coming to this place now, and this is why you're here, and this is why you wanted to hear this today, because you're coming to this place. You've been moved through what we call the restructuring of your world. You've been moved to this place to now come to own who you are, make this difference, and start to change the world, because that's what you're all doing. Another thing. We felt this so strongly. Okay. You each have been given something to create. All right. Now think about that word, create. You're putting something together and it's coming from you. So it's going to be different. It's going to be individual. It's going to be new. And if you don't infuse the belief in that thing, that it has something to do with you, and you know that it's going to make a difference in the world, you're probably not going to pursue that. You're probably not going to have it make a difference. When we saw the first email that was sent to Roger this morning about the procrastination, that is the point that we wanted to make, is that you only procrastinate because you have not connected your value to what it is that you're doing. Oh, okay. So, okay, that somebody, I muted them. That brought me out. Okay. Anyway. Okay. What else? Anything else? Anybody else have something they want discussed?
Yeah, Roger?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, okay, I guess Ira can go after me since I'm speaking. I just wanted to speak about the last few years I've been learning about collective consciousness, and that we're part of that and part of all that is. And it's hard to understand, to feel your individuality and still also feel that collective conscious at the same time. And I think the chaos of what's going on in the world has something to do with bringing that kind of thing into everybody's conscience.
Right. And you're one of those people.
Well, we all are, right?
Okay.
But this is, yeah, for me, it's the first time.
Okay.
About this.
1 second. No, you're not here to do the same thing. You're not here to do the same thing this time. You've all lived different lives, and you've been different races. You've been different. You've been different ethnicities. You've been different sexes. You've been different everything. You've done that over and over again. But this time, you're here to do a specific thing. And that specific thing for all of you, because you wouldn't be clumped here together unless you were doing something similar, is to be the people who are to help move things forward. Everyone is not doing that, and you know that. You can see it. You look at it. You see people are only out to create destruction, to create chaos, division, and all of that, and you're not those people. And so that becomes challenging.
So what are we supposed to do when everyone else around us is in that low of a state of vibration? Because I feel like you said, a bunch of us on here are different. We are not scared, I feel. And it's just, I don't know, I've kind of kept to myself a lot because I just, I don't know, it may sound egoic. I just don't want to, I can't deal with it these days.
Well, when you understand, okay, that you needed the contrast to understand who you were. In other words, you needed to look at that other aspect to understand who you were. There's another place that we're going to give you all, because you're going to get to this now, because you can go around your rest of your life trying to change all those people you disagree with, trying to make them wrong so that you can become right, and it'll never work. It never works, because you're here at different times and you're here on a specific journey, duty this time in your life. And you know that you're here to do some good. So you have to do that. Now, the other thing that you will know, as we've taken Roger back to centuries and eons of civilizations changing, every time they changed, the light took over and the world evolved and became more. And that's what you're all doing now. And more of you here are in that part where you're accomplishing that. It just takes you a while to understand it. I'm going to tell you another story because I need you to understand this, and it has nothing to do with years and placement or hierarchy, any of that. Probably about we don't remember. It might have been 20 years ago. Roger's nephew gave him a book about angels. He took, and you've done this, you've all done this in some way in your lives, and we're just going to talk about it. He took this book, he looked at it, and he thought he doesn't know why his nephew was giving it to him, but he looked at it, thank you very much, and he summarily put it away, never looked at it again. Fast forward 15 years or so, his, probably more than that, his nephew reminded him of that book. Roger had to go and into his bookcase with a flashlight to find it because he had hidden away so much. You've done that. You've hidden something away in your life that you got to find now. And that's what you're doing now. You're taking the flashlight in your life and you're finding it. That's what you're doing. And then when he opened the book and sat down to finally read it, he goes, he knew why his nephew gave it to him. And how did his nephew know that? His nephew was 20 some years younger. How could that have happened? But his nephew knew. And then as Roger opened it, he burst into tears because he recognized why he was here. You all are coming to that place, and you may be experiencing glimpses of that. And we've given Roger this before too. More than 15 years ago, we gave him this one. He doesn't remember, but we said you will have glimpses of who you're supposed to be. And as you start trusting them, that will start to come about. Now, there's one other thing. Each of you has a unique gift, and that's the challenge. But it's also the gift, and that's the thing you're going to figure out. Okay. Oh, what's it? Oh, Ira, yes.
Thank you so much, Roger. This is so inspirational, and it's so clear to me. I would love to know what you can recommend to all of us, how we can better tap into our intuition. What are, the best tools to get more insight, to get more access to these messages, to these visions that are out there to inform us of our path in life, and to inform us how to go forward.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna have Wilhelm explain this. Okay. It's probably best if we give you Roger's process because it will help all of you. In 1984, he began receiving or witnessing information coming from other places through another medium, through friends of his. And so he thought this was all very strange and he didn't truly understand it. And then that whole medium changed at some point. So then in 1988, he's left on his own. And so he had become dependent. Some of you become dependent on your therapists or your coaches or videos or whatever it might be, information you become dependent on. And Roger had done that. So, but he could no longer do that because this medium that he had found at that time was now gone. It didn't exist anymore. And so what he did was, because out of desperation, he's changed so many things in his life out of desperation. I want you all to understand that as well. But what he's done is this. In 1988, he said, okay, I got to do something. And he read something. You each will come across something that inspires you to take an action and do something, and you're supposed to follow it. So he saw something about automatic writing. And this was given to him by, it was in an article, and he kind of accepted this because it was in a business article that he could kind of take in a little bit more. And in that, the person said that they were going through a big change in their life and they wanted to know how to gain clarity. And this is a little bit of what Ira wanted to know. And they wanted to gain clarity. And so they said, just sit down and meditate and have pen and paper and then just see what comes through. And we're giving you the origin of how we started and how we came through. And so Roger would do that. He was desperate. He had just left one career, didn't know what he was going to do, had no money, didn't know what was going to happen. And so he decided, I'm going to try to do this. And he sat there for days. Didn't happen right away, but something said, I'm going to trust this. Now we will point out he was not as distracted then as many of you are now. There wasn't the internet. There wasn't any of that. There weren't cell phones. He wasn't as distracted. So he could sit in his place in his little apartment and meditate and try to get, and then one day, as he's sitting there, and we're going to tell you this because this is exactly how it happened. He's sitting there and he said, he felt something and he heard something. It was us. We were giving him information. It's not that he was hearing it for the first time, because we're going to tell you another story about that. But it's not that he was hearing it for the first time, but now he's allowing it to come through. And then he started to write. And as he started to write, he goes, this is weird. That's exactly what happened. He goes, this is strange, because he felt like something was taking over and these words were just coming through. He had tapped into a different part of his consciousness. And then he said, who's talking to me? We said very clearly, we are another part of you. This is why this whole talk today is called about your higher self and how to connect to your higher self. And we said to him at that time, we are another aspect of you. But if that makes you uncomfortable, you can call us whatever you like. And in an instant, the name Wilhelm came to his mouth and those words came out, and we have been Wilhelm since 1988. He had no idea why he chose that name. We're giving you something else because we want you all to understand the complexities of your lives, and you've never been in the wrong place. He then discovered just this past year that the name Wilhelm was also connected in his life that he had not known. And this goes back to 1978 when he was still living in Chicago. He had not put this together, but he was living on a street that pointed him to a particular philosopher that gave him the information that would tell him who was supposed to be in this life, and he didn't see it. It took him many, many years to this point, in these past couple of years, where he started to notice it. And what he saw was this person that came into his presence had written a book about Wilhelm. And the book was about self-realization. How could that have happened? So the first thing you can do to connect with your higher self is stop denying that it's there. Roger had a conversation with a friend the other day, and they said, what do you mean? You hear things? And Roger said, yes, you do too. You all do. But what happens is, as Roger did, you start to deny it. You don't believe it. Until it starts to show up in your life. That's really what happens. So it's practice. And this goes back to, again, what we said earlier about the practice, patience, and persistence. You just go through it. You all have it. You all have this ability. You have your own Wilhelms. You do. And Roger has been talking about this forever, and he's going to do it eventually, doing a course on this to allow more people to do this, because that he knows that will help move things forward in a much bigger way as well. That is the other part of this. The other point of this is to get you all to kind of understand that you're coming into understanding what's within. Okay. Yes.
Thank you, Roger. So what I get is that it's just coincidences, information that is given to us that will give us hints, plus meditation.
Well, yes. And the first thing has to happen when you have to stop believing in coincidences. They don't happen. They're not any. A coincidence is just something you haven't figured out yet. I've never had a coincidence. I come to figure them out later. What I'm saying is that I think those things that happened in the moment, at the time that they did, they felt to me to be coincidences until I figured out, like, oh, that was supposed to happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got it. Thank you. Thank you, Roger.
Okay. Yes. Oh,
Yes.
so, was
sorry.
it Pam? Someone wanted to make, I'm sorry, I missed it. Somebody wanted to make a statement. Let me go to the chat again. Let's see. Did I miss it?
Oh, yeah, that was me. I said I just wanted to make a little statement.
Oh, yeah.
So since yesterday, I had a terrible just headache, body ache, felt like I was inside a pressure cooker. Even on this morning, like it was hard to get on this call, but
Gotcha.
just like 5 minutes ago, I guess it's an amalgamation of everyone's energy here. And I just had a big release, like a gas pipe just leaking out of my ear, and I feel fabulous. So I just wanted to thank you, Wilhelm, and the rest of the crew.
Oh, great. Okay. Thank you. You gave us two more things. Let me go back for a second. You may feel as you're going through, many of you have had many physical things, physical ailments, physical things going on within your bodies that you don't understand. Sometimes they're really uncomfortable and all of that. You are shifting. As you shift, as you evolve, every aspect of you evolves as well, meaning your body. Sometimes things change. Aches and pains might be a sign of resistance, but it might be an enlarging. If you think of yourself expanding, so we talk about expansion or ascension or any of those terms, you're becoming more. And so sometimes your physical body will react to that. You're going to start to understand that every aspect of you is connected. There are no parts that are separate. Your mental, spiritual, emotional bodies, they're all connected, and they're gifts that were given to you so you could learn how to navigate your own lives. And we will say this too, one more thing. As you start to accept more of who you are and move into that more fully, what you will start to see is that these mysterious little illnesses and ailments start to go away. Well, that's for another time, but there's much of that, because sometimes they're just guiding you to own yourself. And that's what we mean. Every single person, we're just guiding you to own more of who you are and your rightful place in this world.
Appreciate that.
Okay. Wow, this was I didn't know what was going to come through, but this is fun. I've gone a little over the hour. As I said, I kind of figured that would happen. But I'm sure we're going to do more of these. This was great. Anything else come up for anyone? Anything you want to share or talk about? Anyone? Anything you're still questioning? Want some clarification?
Can I ask something?
Yes.
Sorry. I was. I'm going to talk quick about that.
Okay.
As a spiritual person, I never felt connected to Earth when I'm being my upper chakras. What I mean by that, when I listen to my intuition and connected to beings, etc., I felt so disconnected from Earth. When I was born, when I was a little child, always felt disconnected from the ground, the other people.
Yes.
I always felt homesick. I traveled many countries, but never felt like home.
Yes.
I don't know how to figure that out, actually.
Okay,
When I listen to my intuition, I cannot act on the physical world. It's only in the
you weren't supposed to.
dimension.
You weren't supposed to.
Yeah.
You weren't supposed to. You weren't supposed to. You were supposed to exist in this dimension that you're living in right now, and it's a really childlike dimension. It's a really light kind of dimension. You're not going to be that earthly. You came here to bring to the world that essence. You're not supposed to be that grounded here. And that's what you're supposed to accept. You haven't accepted that. You haven't owned that. Does that feel right?
Yeah. Yes, but what I mean is I channel messages, I get urges, but I feel I live in the 5D, but I cannot implement the stuff on 3D.
Yes, you can. You're doing it right now. You're doing it right now because you are. You're doing it right now because you're, first of all, acknowledging that you know this other existence. You are aware of this other dimension, and you know that people here are not. And so you're one of the ones who are meant to connect people to this, to bring them in, but you're not supposed to be this earthly person. So, but you're kind of discounting yourself or your mission here because you think that you're supposed to be a lot more earthly or grounded. You're not.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah. So I need you to own it. I need you to just own it, and you will, because you're offering a very valuable service to the world. Okay. I think I'm complete.
This is a good sesh. Great sesh.
Thank you. I thank you all so much for being here. And the reason, let me tell you, why I'm doing this, why I did this, because the only way I can help other people to do my work and continue doing my work, as we're all moving to new levels and new areas of who we're supposed to be. I had to do this, and I had to not think about it. I used the Mel Robbins approach, which was the 5-second rule. Have an idea, then do it right away, so you don't talk yourself out of it. Because that's what most of us do. And then once you do this, you find, oh, it's where I was supposed to be. It's the most glorious thing ever. And I'm going to continually deliver that message to absolutely everyone, because I know that's the one that you're supposed to hear.
Yeah. I
Great.
tried to implement that rule before I got on this class at 1, but it turned into the 5-minute rule. That's why I logged on at 1:05, but it did work. Glad I came.
Roger, it's Denise, and I'd just like to say you and I met maybe about 3 weeks ago.
Yes.
We had a conversation. It was beyond anything I expected. And you offered me one sentence that really stuck out. And I decided to live for a week owning what you told me I was here to do.
Right.
I have had more meaningful relationships, conversations, gifts, opportunities presented because I was owning who I was. And I am working 3 or 10 steps to transformation program. And it's amazing to me. I had a real large challenge and I'm just on the 3rd step and I've already taken, I'm just trusting. Let's do this process. And I've had a very big event happen this week. And I cannot believe how calm I feel, how right this decision is, how I'm unaffected by anger or frustration, and the belief I have of what this will mean for me in my life. From one sentence you told me. I'm beyond grateful. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Again, let me tell you, I've creating and been doing things for a really long time. And the reason that I'm always, that I'm so passionate with each of you about what I know you can accomplish, because I didn't know that. I did not know that. And so I cannot leave this earth without getting more and more people to come to that understanding, belief, and feeling. So thank you so much for that. This was great today.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you all so very, very much. We're all good? All right. I will send out this replay so you guys will have this as well. And I don't know, we'll figure out the next step. I'll send you some more information, but contact me if you have anything else and we want to talk further. We'll figure it out. Okay.
Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you all so much.
Nice to meet you all.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Roger. Bye-bye.
Thank you.